welcome to the Opposition Preview. So, hello everyone and welcome back to the Bleed Norwich YouTube channel. Today, we have another Opposition Preview and we have none other than Portsmouth fan Freddie Webb coming on the Bleed Norwich today, as Norwich obviously go to Fratton Park on Saturday lunchtime. Freddie, how are you doing today, buddy?
Oh, I am very well. How's it going? Yeah, season's kicked off already. All sorts going on, and yeah, good to be back chatting about the club I love.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's football's well and truly back now. We've had the Carabao Cup first round games. We've had the first round of Championship games. Obviously, that went a bit better for you guys. Obviously, picking up 3 points against Oxford. What were sort of your main takes from that game? For Portsmouth.
I think the main takeaways were a lot of positives from it, even despite the 3 points. Some fans thought it was quite an unglamorous win, missing a few chances here and there, but I consider it was first game of the season. I took a lot of positives from it. The back four and the goalkeeper, I know they're very similar to last season, but they were absolutely rock solid. Were able to do Oxford's long throws and corners. That was their main threat. And having Connor Shaughnessy and Regan Poole back together for the first time as a partnership since 2023 due to injuries was a sight to see, and one that fans definitely savoured a lot. A bit of change in the forward areas. Looks like our star summer signing, Adrian Šegačić, did incredibly well against Oxford. Obviously, scored that goal from outside the area, looked a threat in the number 10 role. He looks to be the signing that's kicked into gear the fastest, and then key performances from big players, Colby Bishop and Callum Lang. So Pompey have got a fairly similar squad to last season, just with a few additions on top. So looking to play very, very similarly and to kick off with 3 points against a side that will probably be in around relegation or lower mid-table, same as we are. It was a perfect start away from home.
Yeah, just touching on the summer transfer window, obviously you talked about your marquee signing there, but just another sign that I wanted to pick up on was John Swift. I think that's an unbelievable coup for Portsmouth. What's he going to be like this season?
Yeah, John Swift was a cool signing. We didn't have him on our transfer special on the P04 Podcast that we do, but we had him on our shortlist. And to get him on a free looks to be a very smart bit of business. He's from Gosport, which is a town near Portsmouth, and he was in the academy very, very young, but didn't quite make the mustard. So he wanted to come back home, which is brilliant to see. And many people would have looked at his time in West Brom thinking, is he the same sort of attacking threat? Has he got that creativity? Pompey are going to be using it a little bit differently. Obviously, when he was at Reading and West Brom for all those years, he was further up the pitch, either on the right wing or in that like number 10 role, floating around, moving around, trying to get on the ball all the time. Here he's going to be in the base of midfield in the 4-2-3-1 formation, and he'll be almost like that deep line playmaker who's always looking to receive the ball from the centre half, then pass it up all the way to the forward line. And he's definitely still got the creative chops for it. Obviously, there's a bit of concerns about him being run over by like a very energetic midfield, one that gets stuck in all the time. So that's a bit of a concern. But no, John Swift looked incredibly solid in his first league game. Didn't pull up any trees by any manner of means, but just made the midfield tick over a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what you sort of want from a debut midfielder. Is sort of just get the simple things right, and then later on in the season start doing all the difficult flicks and tricks and whatnot. But obviously, there was big injury news for you guys early on this season. Josh Murphy being out for 6 weeks. As a Norwich fan, I do know the quality of Josh Murphy, and obviously last season the numbers he pulled out were phenomenal. How big of a miss is he going to be for the next sort of 6 weeks or so?
Yeah, with the injuries to Josh Murphy, it was a strange one because I was at the Zwolle friendly where that was like the little hamstring injury that he picked up. I haven't seen anything that it was 6 weeks, so I'm not sure if you've taken a similar report to I have, or I haven't looked at the news today. Our big injury is Marlon Pack in the centre of midfield. He's out for 6 to 10 weeks. He's having knee surgery.
Yeah, I did read a report, and it did say 6 weeks, so I might be wrong there. But I did read a report that said Murphy was out for 6 weeks, but I might be wrong.
Okay, yeah. So I've just, I'll have to double check that. But the key thing is he may be 50-50 for this game against Norwich. He'll probably not show up. That's still something that's going to crop up, and that was due to like a little hamstring injury. Before the Oxford game, there was all sorts of talk about Colby Bishop being out for 2 to 3 weeks. Mousinho even coming out in the news and saying it, and then suddenly he's straight in, starting lineup, no issues whatsoever, pretty much plays the entire game. So with Josh Murphy, he will be a big miss to start the season if he is out for that extended period of time, or if he's out for a couple of weeks or so, because he's Pompey's most creative player and the best player we have. Almost got double digits in both goals and assists last season. Whenever you see him on the left wing, he's always dangerous, whether he's cutting inside on his right foot, he could stick down the byline on his left foot and put in an excellent low cross, for example. Always likes to beat a fullback as well with a lot of pace and some dribbling prowess. So, no, if he is missing, it will be a miss. He was a miss against Oxford. Florian Bianchini, a French winger on loan from Swansea, replaced him and deputised him a little bit, and he didn't put in a very good performance at all. So, depth on the wide areas will be a concern, and is even more a concern depending on how long Josh Murphy's out for. But no, injury wise, you're looking at Marlon Pack in the centre midfielder, out 6 to 10 weeks with a swollen knee. Young winger Harvey Blair, he's still out because he tore his hamstring, I believe, in the last game of the last season. Didn't have any preseason at all. And as far as I'm aware, that's all the injury stuff. So those three names there. Marlon Pack is a big miss considering he had a good preseason. We've got a lot of other centre midfielders, but obviously Josh Murphy is the big one.
Yeah, I might need, might need to double check that one myself. I must have read the wrong report somewhere, but yeah, if he is out for Saturday, like you said, that'll be a massive miss for you guys. Obviously, League Cup action did happen in midweek. Norwich beat Watford 2-1. You guys did fall short to Reading and lost 2-1. Was that any cause for concern, or was it just sort of focus on the league sort of mindset?
I would say it's a little bit of both. It was a fully rotated side. The only player who started against Oxford to play in this game was John Swift. He started and then was immediately subbed off 45 minutes for Andre Dozzell, who also started off in that game. So that was a bit pre-planning. It was a chance for a lot of the depth and the younger players to showcase what they could do. And I'm afraid they didn't deliver. They were absolutely bullied against a Reading side that wanted a lot more. Two examples of abysmal defending. Pompey could have gone ahead beforehand. Were a little bit unlucky with deflections and shots from inside the box. But yeah, it was a disappointing result in the end, even though it was 2-1. But, and there were some boos afterwards, but to be honest, with that sort of game, it reminded me a bit of the League Cup defeat last season to Millwall, where people were very cross about it, but then they forgot about it within a week because of some good results in the league. So obviously, if Pompey are able to ditch that performance behind them and play well against Norwich in the first home game of the season, I think people forget about that result quite quickly, even though there are some concerns that came up, and it was mainly depth in the wide areas, to be honest.
Yeah, of course. But going into Norwich, obviously, there's going to be some players that you're going to be looking out for from a Norwich perspective. What players are you sort of scared about facing, really?
Ooh, it's a tough one, really, because obviously Norwich have lost key players. Borja Sainz being a key one. From a lot of the time I saw in the Championship, I thought he was excellent, but only really when he wanted to be. I can imagine Norwich City fans were quite frustrated with that one. So to lose him must be a big miss. Obviously, James Sargent is up there up front. Exceptional Championship striker, but really, can any club turn down £20 million for him if that comes in? I'm not entirely sure. So if he's playing and he's going to be that threat up front, if Norwich can provide a lot of service around him, that's going to be a big thing. And then one player I am going to look out for is Harry Darling. His performance, if he starts, is probably going to be the biggest factor whether to determine whoever wins this game, because obviously with a Liam Manning side, playing out from the back is going to be that key factor. And against Pompey at Fratton Park, he'll want to control the possession the entire game, swing Pompey's out of possession layout all the way around to try and get those spaces in the channels for a Sargent or someone similar. But Pompey are a very high pressing side. If they can close down Darling incredibly well and stifle him and make sure he has no options where he's always going back to the keeper, then that's probably the key link for Pompey, really. The Pompey are going to look to make it a very horrible game for Norwich to play against, because the last time Liam Manning was at Fratton Park managing Bristol City, it was a 3-0 defeat. It was a poor performance both tactically and by his players, because they were trying to play out from the back in a very considered way and they weren't fast enough. And then Pompey were able to get on top of them with a high press and that aggression high up the pitch. And then it was 2, 3, 4 passes into the penalty area, and all of a sudden there were clear-cut chances and Pompey were away. So that's going to be the way that John Mousinho is going to set up in this game. So the key players that Pompey will be looking out for, obviously Sargent up front for his goal threat, but obviously Harry Darling at the back, because if he has an excellent game, marshals everything back there, can play around the press and stuff, then Pompey will be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, of course. I do like the fact that you brought up Darling. I think that's yeah, it's a very good shout. If he does get a lot of the ball and does get those passes off that he likes to get off those sort of switch plays or looking down the channels for Sargent, I think he'll definitely be a threat. But just touching on the last time Norwich and Portsmouth met back in April, obviously finished 5-3 to Portsmouth, and looking back at that game, I remember leaving it thinking Portsmouth are one of the best, well-coached teams in the Championship last season, especially towards the back end of last season. I think John Mousinho's done a fantastic job. Obviously, it's a very different outlook in terms of a Norwich perspective with different head coach, different players. But in terms of Portsmouth, like you say, not a lot's changed. You've still got John Mousinho as your manager. How important is he going to be this season in terms of sort of keeping you guys up in the Championship and also maybe pushing for top half as well?
Integral. John Mousinho and also Rich Hughes, the director of football, it's integral to how Pompey are going to survive in the Championship for years to come. Pompey pretty much have a bottom five budget if we're generous, more likely a bottom three budget alongside teams like Oxford and Preston. If you look at the signings that are brought in, Luke LaRue and Mark Kosnowski, both centre midfielders, both of them are probably the marquee signings, and the fees are around £1 million. Compared that to some of what the other Championship teams are doing, even teams that have gone up like Charlton and the money they're spending, it shows that a lot of it is going to be down to getting the most out of the players you have and then being considerate about it. John Mousinho is probably the best manager that Pompey have had for an awful long time. Last season, starting off with a specific way of playing, wanted to play similar how they did in League One, very controlling, focusing on passing, focusing on technique and everything else. But that was ditched slightly after playing against teams like Leeds, Burnley, other sides at the beginning of the season who were able to just control games and play through them. So it's not a direct style of play that Pompey are playing. It's very much just a structured, in your face, aggressive, high pressing style of football. There's a lot of technique in the Pompey side. They can still pass and control games, especially at home against weaker sides. So they can still do a little bit of that. But against a team like Norwich who want to have all that possession and control the game and dictate how things are going, it will play into Pompey's hands an awful lot in a small pitch. And a lot of that is just down to the high press high up the pitch. And then Mousinho's drilled that into the players an awful lot. And the players that have been brought in are used to that style. If you look at the front four, you'll have Colby Bishop being just the linchpin striker who's got a goal threat to him, but also can hold everything up and also charge down the centre half. Callum Lang, very aggressive attacking midfielder who'll be playing out on the right. Again, a goal threat, likes to cut in, very aggressive with a little bit of technique on him. And then Adrian Segacic, key signing in the summer, very, very small frame, and you look at him and going, how is he going to knock anybody off the ball? But no, he's aggressive. He's always wanted to put his foot in every single time, wants to get on the ball, wants to have pot shots from outside the area. So if the press in that front four can work incredibly well like it did against Norwich last season, because that was the main takeaway. I know that a lot of Norwich players in that team thought they were pretty much on the beach and Pompey were fighting for their lives, so there was that dynamic to it. But Pompey were just superb at being able to win the ball back and create the most of their chances, and that's what they're going to have to do in this game as well.
Yeah, like you say as well, Fratton Park is sort of a bit of a fortress for you guys, especially last season. And I think Norwich will struggle quite a lot. Like you say, you're going to be very high pressing, very up in our faces, and I don't think we're going to sort of enjoy that. We like to keep a lot of the ball, sort of push the opposition back into their own half. So I think it does kind of favour you guys a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, look, obviously Norwich are a very good side. I mean, just look at the players that you have and you've brought in. I very like the look of Topic in the centre of midfield. That he looks to be that sort of aggressive CDM who might be able to battle with Pompey a little bit, and that's sort of the signing that Norwich fans will probably quite like, I think. And there are some other players with very good technique in there as well. So over the course of the season, you'd expect Norwich to be, well, where they should be, in upper mid-table, around trying to get into that playoff mark, and Liam Manning's proven to be able to do that with Bristol City. But now is probably the best time for Pompey to play a side like Norwich. With the way they want to play, they haven't got used to each other yet, because there's been a fairly big turnover of players, especially in goal as well. There's that turnover of players. They haven't got used to the system yet. That's where a settled side like Pompey that have changed a bit in the summer, but all the key phases are still there. All the tactical nous is still there. It's the wrong time to go to Fratton Park for Norwich, I think. Whereas if it was later in the season, I think it would be a different matter.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on there. I'll tell you what. After talking to you, I'm 100% more nervous than what I was coming into this Zoom call. But just to finish off this opposition preview, I just want to get your score prediction for Saturday.
Oh God, you put me on the spot here. I was going to record the PO forecast with my co-host later on, and I hadn't got it sort of figured out in my head yet. But you know what? I'm going to be positive. I'm going to ignore that League Cup fixture midweek and focus on the win against Oxford and try and go from there. I think Pompey will squeak it 2-1. I think. Very boring score prediction, obviously, where someone always predicts 2-1 whenever they think their side's going to win or not. But I just think that Norwich will probably burst out from the start, probably get ahead a little bit. But then as the game tires, as they're trying to get used to everything, Pompey will be able to dig out of 3 points, I think. I think it's going to be massive. Obviously, Norwich still got incredible players. Like Diallo at left wing looks very good from the League Cup game that I saw. So probably another big performance needed from him. But no, they're going to have to get used to playing a high possession style of football against a side that's going to try and do everything they can not to allow that to happen in a smaller pitch. So those are some of the factors to consider as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've gone for a 2-1 Norwich myself. Another boring prediction, but I had to follow my heart a little bit there, even though I am slightly apprehensive going into this game. But Freddie, thank you very much for coming on Bleed Norwich today. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. And yeah, I'm not sure if Norwich fans would want to do this, but if you ever want to hear the reaction from a Pompey perspective, you can look at the P04 Forecast. It's named after the postcode, and that's all on just all good podcast platforms like Spotify, SoundCloud, and everything else. Or if you just want to look at some of the social media stuff, there's the Pompey News Now Twitter and Instagram page or Facebook page. You can look at all of those as well. But yeah, I'm excited for this game on Saturday. Early kickoff, which is frustrating, but hey, we've got to get used to that if we're fans of Championship football, aren't we?
That's it. The Sky cameras will be out. But thank you very much, guys, for listening. Make sure to obviously go follow the P04 podcast on all platforms. The links will all be down in the description, and we'll see you guys later.